They say that within the next 5 to 10 years, most of our jobs are gonna be replaced by AI. Right now, my kids think mom's cooking is the best in the world. Is AI gonna take that away from me too? So today, I'm testing AI recipes against some of the best chefs on TikTok, from grandmas to Iron Chefs. And by the end of this video, my kids are gonna do a blind taste test and decide for themselves. Does this mom still have it, or is humanity cooked? So our first test will be based on authenticity. Can AI make carbonara better than an Italian nonna? And not just any Italian nonna. This is Nana Silvi. She has 2.1 million followers on TikTok, but that's not all. She won Italy's TikTok Creator of the Year in 2025 because she's just that good. So we're gonna make her version first, and she gives all the directions in Italian, so I'm gonna try my best to translate this. We start off with some guanciale. I've seen a lot of people use pancetta or bacon in their carbonara, but I've never used guanciale before, so you gotta know this is the real deal. But she slices and cubes it up. It's super fatty. It looks exactly like bacon, which is probably why a lot of people use that instead. And this is pretty hard to find. This looks good. Now I gotta shred some cheese. She uses both Parmigiano Reggiano and Pecorino. Just cut off the rind real quick. We gotta do all the prepping before we start cooking. Now let's shred our Pecorino. Okay, let me transfer this to a bowl, and we're gonna save it for later. It's a lot of cheese. And now she does 3 eggs and 3 yolks, but it looks like she's making a giant vat of carbonara. I'm gonna cut it down. 2 eggs and 2 yolks. Then she just beats it up with her whisk, grandma style. Silky smooth, beautiful. I think our prepping for the most part looks done. So far, 10 out of 10 instructions, because I don't even speak Italian and I pretty much understood everything. But now, can I cook her recipe? So in the back, we're gonna start by boiling our spaghetti. Nana didn't show this part, but you know Italians salt their pasta water like the sea. Now I'm gonna add my spaghetti and cook it till it's al dente. Now this is where it gets kind of tricky for me, because I'm not sure exactly how much cheese and how much pasta water she's adding. But we're gonna add some hot pasta water into the cheese and make a nice creamy cheese sauce. I'll start with that much. Whoa, it's getting buttery at the bottom. I can confidently say I have never seen or tried this method before, so I hope it works. My cheese is not getting as melty as hers, so I'm wondering if I should add a little bit more. Let's do it. Does that look like hers? Whisk harder. I don't know, mine's not looking right. It is what it is. Let me scrape down the bowl, and then we're gonna add in our eggs. And that's my carbonara mixture. Somebody said, where's the black pepper? Now for the guanciale, I think she adds it to a cold pan and then brings it up to temperature, because once she drops it in, it doesn't sizzle. I'm gonna let it cook up, get nice and brown, get the fat fully rendered out. Whoa, look how much fat rendered out of all of that. But now she takes the guanciale and then transfers it into a bowl, leaving the grease in the pan. These are gonna be nice and crispy. But the grease also doesn't go to waste, because now she takes the spaghetti and just throws it back into the pan. The sizzle, mixes it up, warms it up. I'm guessing now she turns off the heat because she pours the egg cream right on top. I'm gonna warm the pasta through enough so that it cooks the egg on its own. Now here goes. Is the cheese melting? Gotta keep it moving. Okay, let me keep stirring, 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 stirring fast. Whoa, the cheese is melting. Look how creamy this is. This is so beautiful and silky. For a second there, I was so scared that the egg was cooking and things were not gonna turn out, but this is the most beautiful, silky carbonara I have ever made. One final step. Eccola, eccola bellezza. Or just play her saying it.
Eccola, eccola, guardate che bellezza.
Oh, this looks incredible. I have to taste it. That is the best carbonara I've ever had, and I am convinced the only person to be trusted with a carbonara recipe like this is an Italian nonna. And while I still don't know what she was saying in the video, I will always say yes to more of her recipes, and I feel like she will personally come at me if I ever add cream to my carbonara. But overall, I thought her instructions were easy to understand, even though there was that language barrier, and she didn't even give me measurements for the cheese, and it still turned out like this. Now, let's see if AI can do any better. For our AI platform, I will be using ChatGPT, and I'm gonna ask it to give me a carbonara recipe. Let's see what it spits out. First of all, since when does ChatGPT give you photos that accompany a recipe? But also this looks eerily similar to Nana Sylvie's. So here's the recipe that ChatGPT is giving me. First, boil your pasta. Salt your water well like the sea. Are you listening to me? Cook spaghetti until just al dente. Reserve about 1 cup of pasta water before draining. Step 2, cook the guanciale. I guess good thing I already had this guanciale, but it wants 3 ounces of this guanciale cut into strips, which is different. So like bacon? It probably meant something more like this, which is still huge. Cook in a pan over medium heat until crispy and fat is rendered. These guanciale strips look so massive, but it should shrink down quite a bit too. I don't know how I feel about these. They're still way too long. They look like little fingers. Bacon fingers. Step 3, make the sauce. In a bowl with 2 large eggs and 1 egg yolk. So this is where there's a little difference because Chat's recipe calls for finely grated pecorino romano, not freshly grated. So I use the store-bought kind. And where we also differ is that it calls for that freshly cracked black pepper that somebody asked on TikTok, which makes me wonder, is this the Americanized version or is this an authentic version? Because Nana Sylvie definitely didn't use black pepper. This is a thick paste. And now this is what Chat says is the key step. Add hot pasta directly into the guanciale pan with the heat off. Toss to coat in the fat. Slowly add a splash of water to cool slightly. Then pour an egg mixture while tossing constantly. This thickened up even more if that's possible. Whoa. It also came together magically like my other one, but the only difference I see is it's just not as creamy or silky as Nana's. But if I wanted it more creamy, I guess it says to add more pasta water. Step 5, finish. Let's see how it tastes. It's good, but it tastes like any other carbonara that I've ever had before. It's salty. The black pepper gives it a nice little kick, but it didn't wow me the way that the other one did because it was just so silky and creamy. I think the extra yolk that the other one had really pushed it over the edge, as well as the fresh cheese. But is it enough of a difference for my kids to be able to tell? We'll find out. Well, let's move on to our next round. I know who won the authenticity round, but our next round is gonna be based on skills. And who better to test the skills or technique of AI than an Iron Chef? This is Iron Chef Dad. He tied Bobby Flay on Iron Chef America. He also earned the highest score in Top Chef Masters and built one of the biggest chef audience on TikTok with 6.3 million followers. So if AI thinks it can outdo Iron Chef Dad's steak, this might be its biggest challenge yet, because his steak video has 20.5 million views and he teaches us how to make the perfect steak. First, we need our steak. I'm using a New York steak here, but you also need shallot, garlic, thyme, room temperature butter, and some white peppercorn, which he starts grinding up straight onto a cutting board. He just grabs a cast iron pan and like smushes it down. Ugh. Harder than it looks. It's very coarse. Part of me is tempted to just go like bang, bang, bang. Interesting technique. Iron Chef. Get it? Because he's using cast iron pan. And then he starts with his room temperature steak. It has to feel as warm as your hand, your skin. Pretty close. Then we season it on both sides with the peppercorn, and then don't forget the salt. Okay, before he flips it, he takes his room temperature butter, should be able to like mold it like this, and then just spreads a thin layer right on top. Usually I've seen people add the butter to the pan, not to the steak like this. Let's do the other side. This is a lot of butter. And then right before he cooks it, he gives it a squeeze. I'm gonna make it like taller. To cook it, he recommends using a very heavy cast iron pan, and he drops a lot of skills and techniques on us. He says to start with a very hot pan on high, and then right before you add the steak, turn it down. So here goes. Just grabs it with his bare hand. Oh my god, that got so smoky. Once he adds the steak, the butter starts to just like pool out. He adds the shallots, the garlic, and let them cook together. That's the sound. Somebody said, my apartment smoke detector says absolutely not. We're gonna let it sear for 2 minutes, and then he drops in the thyme. Now it's time to flip, and he is an Iron Chef. He does it with his hand. I'm gonna use tongs. Whoa, look at that here. Somebody in the comments says, how does the butter not burn? Somebody else said, that's why you don't blindly take advice from people just because they're chefs. Once he flips it, he adds everything right back on top of the steak and then sears it for another couple minutes. And now we have to let it rest for 10 minutes. Okay, I've let it rest for 10 minutes. Nice and flavorful with all the aromatics. Now we're gonna slice it up. Oh man, mine may be slightly overcooked to a medium instead of a medium rare. So even though Iron Chef gives you time, I guess it really depends on the thickness of your steak. His might be a little bit thicker than mine. That's okay, because now he has to add his secret sauce. Nah, he can't do that. He's an Iron Chef. Honestly, that's what my kids would eat, but it'll probably make an appearance again later. His secret sauce is truly a secret because he didn't give us the recipe, so I'm just gonna use an umami sauce right here and pour it right on top. Let's try Iron Chef Dad's perfect steak. Even though my steak was slightly overcooked, the flavor is so good. You get really subtle flavors from the aromatic, and then the peppercorn just gives it a little bit of a tingliness that I like. As an Iron Chef, I thought his technique would be a lot harder, but I would say this was pretty manageable for a home chef like me. But now I have to have my kids test this, and I know with the peppercorn and just like nothing else with this, I need to pair this with something. And since their favorite food is pizza, that's what I'm gonna pair it with. And this portion of the video is sponsored by Typher. I'm actually using the Typher Dome 2, and it's actually so good for times like these. I need something easy that I know the kids will love too. Let me go ahead and preheat the oven. And once it's ready, I'll just put the frozen pizza directly into the basket. If it's a whole pizza, but I need to add some pepperoni. What makes it so different is a 360 heating with heating elements on both top and bottom, so it cooks way more evenly and gets everything crisp without me having to mess with it too much. It also has 15 cooking functions, so you don't have to just cook pizza. There's pizza, bacon, steak, wings, air fry, toast, grill, and there's even a self-cleaning feature that makes cleanup a breeze. Typher Dome features an industry-first self-cleaning mode. With this cutting-edge technology, Typher Dome can decompose the grease and grime from the top cavity with high heat. My favorite thing about the Typher Dome 2 is probably how quiet it is. Do you guys hear that? No, you don't hear anything because it's that quiet. It's such a nice, pleasant chime. Our pizza's ready. This looks incredible. Look at the cheese bubbling. My favorite part is a crispy crust. Do you hear this? So if you want to check out this Typher Dome 2 and other Typher products, click on the link in the description below and use my code Honeysuckle for 10% off. Get ready to be as amazed as I am. We tried Iron Chef steak. It might have been a little overcooked, but now I have another piece here and I need to know AI's technique. Please give me the perfect steak recipe. Okay, it's gotta be listening to me or something because this is also almost identical to Iron Chef's recipe. But here are the steps. Step 1, dry and season. Pat the steak completely dry. This is the crust. Salt generously on both sides. Now I have to let it sit for 30 minutes, I guess to let the salt really drain out all the moisture from the meat. The salt brought out the meat sweat in our steak, and the whole point of patting it down dry was kind of pointless. Step 2, get the pan hot. Use the cast iron if possible. All right, the pan is starting to smoke, so I think we can move on to step 3. Add oil, then steak. Oh, don't move it for 2 to 3 minutes. Flip once the crust forms. Maybe another minute. Step 4, add butter, garlic, and herbs. Tilt pan and spoon melted butter over steak for 1 to 2 minutes. All right, 1:30. That is the sweet spot. Rest 5 to 10 minutes before slicing. This keeps it juicy and it's non-negotiable. This meat has rested for 10 minutes, and the biggest thing that I've noticed already so far is that there's a lot more liquid pooling around it than our Iron Chef steak. And even though my other steak was overcooked, it was still juicy and flavorful. Will this one still be the case? It seems whether it's AI or Iron Chef recipe, apparently I can't get my temperature right. Still medium. Let's try AI's. I taste a lot of saltiness. The steak is still really tender and fairly juicy even though it spread out a little bit. But the thing that I'm missing here is the butteriness and then the subtle garlicky flavor that the other one had. This one is fine. The other one just took it to the next level, and I just love that every bite had that like peppercorn in it. This one feels more mid. And now for round 3. Can AI make it better than mom? I might be known for one thing and one thing only. It's my world famous chocolate chip cookies, which also happens to be one of my kids' favorite things that I make for them. But since I feel like AI has been listening to me do the steak and the carbonara recipe, you guys know where to find my world's famous chocolate chip cookie recipe. So I'm gonna be asking AI to give me theirs. Give me the best chocolate chip cookie recipe. Let's look at the ingredients real quick. There seems to be a lot of flour. Okay. The ingredients are a little different than mine, so we'll see how their ratio compares. Step 1, mix dry ingredients. In a bowl, whisk flour, baking soda, and salt. I usually just mix my dry right into my wet ingredients, but I know some people like to separate them. Mix wet ingredients. This is where we could have taken it to the next level. This is just melted butter. I like to brown mine. In a separate bowl, whisk melted butter, brown sugar, and granulated sugar until smooth. And this is where I'm also really confused by this recipe because I have to add an egg yolk plus half a beaten egg. Just half. Why not the whole thing? Okay, let me eyeball half. Oh no! That was more than half. This step, I usually look for like a lava consistency and okay, AI. Lava achieved. Fold dry ingredients into wet ingredients until just combined. Don't overmix. I like how the direction says do not overmix, but you know what will keep it from overmixing is if you were to mix the flour with the chocolate chips at the same time. But I know there's more than one way to make chocolate chip cookies, so I'm curious to see how this one turns out. But now we have to chill the dough, cover and refrigerate for at least an hour. Overnight is even better. Why wouldn't you scoop it out first and then chill? It's been an hour and our dough is sufficiently chilled. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Scoop dough 2 to 3 tablespoons each onto a lined baking sheet. The dough is a little hard to scoop. Bake 10 to 12 minutes until edges are golden but centers still soft. Got good color. Didn't have a big of a rise, but it's supposed to be crispy on the outside and slightly soft in the center. So I'm gonna let it cool and then we're gonna try. I'm not gonna lie, once it cooled down, it looks pretty good. There's not like a hefty weight to it, so it feels like more of those thin and crispy ones. Let's do quality taste control. It's not a bad cookie, but it's not the best cookie. It just doesn't have that nuttiness from the brown butter, and it just lacks a little bit of that oomph that takes it to the next level. But will my kids be able to tell the difference? And now for the final taste test. Round 1, carbonara. So one of these is AI, and one of these mommy made from a TikTok recipe. Can you guys guess and tell which one's AI and which one is human?
This one, it got to be AI. Hey, this one tastes human. That tastes like AI. Is that right?
You ready for the next round?
Yeah. Just give me one more bite.
Round 2, steak and pie. The pizza is not AI, but it's my decoy.
No, I think that. Too salty. Just AI. This one tastes human. This is AI, this is human. Red is AI. Gray is human. If it tastes better, that means it's human.
Is the pizza human or AI?
Human.
Ready for next round?
Yeah.
Round 3, chocolate chip cookies.
Tastes AI. Well, I think this one is AI. This is human. So yeah, I think this is human because it looks more human.
Which one tastes like mommy's cookie?
This.
Okay, you guys have your final answers?
Yeah.
The one that was human was this one.
Yay! We knew that.
So you guys got most of them right, but you thought that the carbonara was human and this was AI. So we're only half cooked, but at least they knew mama's cookies when they tasted it. But if you like this video, go watch me make every grade's dream school lunch.
Bye.
Bye.